Hi, everyone. Welcome to week two. The week two assignment is right here, and I'm going to put it on the other screen, and I'm going to kind of go over it with you. So I hope that you find this to be helpful. There are three different sections, and so I'm going to go through each section. And I'm going to do all of the work in an Excel spreadsheet, and I've already created it to kind of give you an idea of what we're doing. Part one, section one, they're going to give you some pricing data, and I just copied it over here. That is up at the top, right under Sony collected information on the demand and supply for PlayStation 4 in New York. So this is just me copying that information in there. Also, later on in this problem, it is going to ask you where there are shortages or surpluses. And so I went ahead and wrote that in there so that way you didn't have to think of it later. The easiest place to start is at equilibrium, and that's where the quantity supplied equals the quantity demanded. That would be at a price of 184 and a quantity of 22. Here we have more demanded than supplies, so that would be a shortage of 8. Here we have a shortage of 16. I'm finding this by taking 32 minus 16 and 28 minus 20. So down here, we are supplying more than we're demanding. So we're going to have a surplus, which means the supplier is going to have stuff that they don't sell. And so we are going to subtract backwards. 28 minus 13 is 15. 44 minus 7 is 37. So later on, it's going to ask you about that. And that is just preemptively including that. That's a great way to include that. You can feel free to do a graph like this, or you can write it out by hand, take pictures. You could do it on any sort of program you want, as long as you save it as a PDF or something I can actually open. So the second part, after you have entered in the data, and I would like you to do the shortages and surpluses, it asks for a graph. And so you're going to create a graph by clicking insert. And I put that right here, so that way you know recommended charts, which is here. Oops, I'm sorry. You have to select the data first. Okay, recommended charts, and then you're going to select this line graph. And this will be what comes up. I just titled it as section 1 because that is section 1 of the assignment. You can be very descriptive. You could write PlayStation 4 supply and demand. It is really up to you. This is just a legend with the quantity demanded and supplied. You know you're on the right track if quantity demanded slopes down and quantity supplied slopes up. Once again, we already kind of talked about this above. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this. These are going to be your equilibrium points at a price of 184 and at a number of PlayStations of 22. And I'm sorry, I wrote that backwards. I wrote $22. It should be $184, and our quantity is 22. So that is right there in the center of that X. You can see we have $184 and 22 items. Typically, this is a little backwards. We usually have our price here and our quantity here, but that's just how it graphed. You can do it like that, or you can, do it the normal way with the price up here and the quantity demanded. I just kind of roughly did these. So sorry. So then you're going to just move on to the second section. It has here to create the surplus and shortages, which we did above. And then we created a graph, and then select one of the points on the graph and indicate the quantity supplies and demanded. So you could just pick anyone. So if we were to charge $284, we would have consumers demanding 7 of them, but suppliers are going to want to supply 44 because that's a pretty good price for them. So those are the main parts. I'm going to move on to section 2 now. And this part requires you to do just a little bit of math. So the first part, it talks about 0, 400, and 800 PlayStations. So, and it gives you this formula. The formula is, I'm going to write it here, demand Q equals, this is our demand function, minus 16 minus 1.25 Q. And you're going to see that in the classroom right here as well. So I'm going back to talk about it with you. So what you're going to do is you're just going to fill in these numbers to get the price. So if we're demanding for 0, 400, or 800, this is the math. And then I just put it in an actual formula so I didn't have to figure it myself. You can feel free to do these formulas by adding an equals in front. You do not have to put this information. I was just showing you the math. The way that they have it termed here is they say that the demand is considered in hundreds. Q is the quantity demanded in hundreds. And so that's why I have 4 and 8 here instead of 400 and 800. So yours should look something like this. And then the second part of section 2, it gives you our prices. So you have to do it backwards. So we are finding, we have this over here, our price, because it's price equals, I should have put that in there, P equals QD, which is in our formula. Let me copy and paste that over so it is cleaner. This is the actual formula. So they're giving us P right here. So they're giving us the price. So we're going to plug in P. So P equals this, and we're solving for Q, which I put as X. And so once again, I put those formulas out there so you can see how I calculated those. So we are just figuring out for those, and whatever our X equals will be our quantity demanded. And so for $8, our quantity demanded is $6.40, $10, $4.80, $12, $3.20. So I hope that gives you an idea of what that should look like for section 2. And then after I finished, I had all this data kind of in different spots. And so I put it in order so that way it's easier to graph. So I went over with prices first and our demand right here. And then you can see our demand curve is downward sloping, so we know we're in the right spot. I have these highlighted for the final section, so you can disregard those now. So now we're going to do section 3, which is the same exact thing, but we are looking at quantity supplied. So right here we have this formula, which I should have added as well. So same thing, I put the formulas in here and then I explained what I did here. We have 0, 400, and 800 that they're given. Here is our formula. We're plugging in the 0, 4, and 8 because once again, this is measured in hundreds. And so we are going to get the following prices. And then we're going to do it backwards, just like before, where we are given we're given prices and we have to find the quantity supplied. So this would be price here, and this is quantity supplied. And I do clean this up at the bottom once I put them all together, but you can figure this out. For a 0 quantity, we're plugging in and solving for X, and our X will be our quantity supplied. That is our formula, like I said before. And then I clean them up where I just start at 0, and then the next one is 3, and then 6, and then 10 and 20. And so you can see that as the price goes up, the quantity supplied goes up. So once again, we'll have that upward sloping supply curve that we want to see. And then to find equilibrium, we are going to take the formulas, the one I posted here and the one I posted here, set them equal to one another. So that's what I did. Solve for Q. Once we solve for Q, we can find the price by plugging that number into one of our formulas. And our price is going to be $6. So what quantity demanded and what quantity supplied are at $600 or at $6, and that is 800. And you can see that those answers are true in here. And so these curves are going to come together and they're going to meet at 800 items. And once again, these curves are upside down. Usually you would put the price here and the quantities here. So I hope this helps you as you're doing the assignment. You can feel free to do this differently, do it by hand, make it your own. But these are the basics. And I didn't want to leave you kind of hanging because I know this is a very difficult assignment. And so if you have any further questions, please let me know. I hope this gives you a great start. Have a good day.